Ocean's 11 was released in 2001, is directed by Steven Soderbergh and stars George Clooney, Brad Pitt, Julia Roberts, Matt Damon, Andy Garcia and Elliot Gould, just to name a few. Now you're probably wondering, Aaron, why are you reviewing Ocean's 11? The answer's pretty simple really. I just want to. I love the movie so much that I just want to talk about it. And after rewatching it the other day for the first time in quite a while, I think I can confidently say that this is actually one of my favourite movies ever. There is just so much to love about this movie, and I just wanted to express that love in the best way that I know how, which is a review. And I mean, you can kind of tell that I love the movie quite a bit, because I'm at least trying to make an effort with this review. I'm wearing a shirt, I've got the shades, the only thing I don't have is money to spend at Vegas. Yeah, these are sad times we live in. One of my favourite things about this entire movie is just how slick and stylish it feels, and more importantly, how effortlessly it does those two things. The main way it achieves those two things is mainly down to its soundtrack and its editing. But outside of that, Soderbergh also somehow manages to make the pacing of the movie feel very rhythmic, and also never wastes any of your time. There is not a single wasted scene in this entire movie. Every single scene, whether it be a very tense part of the heist or just a small bit of dialogue between two characters, is always snappy and to the point and never wastes your time. It just gets to the point and moves straight on to the next thing, constantly keeping you as an audience member engaged and waiting for the next thing to happen. And that is the best type of filmmaking and is probably best displayed in this movie. Soderbergh knows that he doesn't want to bore the audience and just get to the point on every single scene, so that's what he does. He makes everything snappy, everything quick, and is there just long enough as it needs to be. It doesn't... there is not a single scene that feels like it is longer than it needs to be. It is just there for the point of what it's there for, and just moves straight on to the next thing. The movie also thankfully never takes itself too seriously, because with a lot of other heist movies in this type of genre, they're 9 out of 10 times either over-dramatic or a bit too dark and gritty. This movie doesn't do that. It manages to maintain a very playful tone right from the word go, and just sticks with it throughout its entire runtime. And I think that works in the movie's benefit, because you can tell that the cast are enjoying every single minute of it. You can tell that they had a lot of fun whilst actually making the movie itself. And just that whole playful tone really does lead to some rather funny moments in the movie, and also means that you as an audience can enjoy what these characters are doing a whole lot more, because the movie is not taking itself that seriously. It is grounded in a kind of sense of reality, but like I said, there is a playful, charming nature to the movie that is just instantly irresistible from the moment you start this film. Now, when it comes to the heist itself, I really like how this movie portrays that, because with most other heist movies, again, they usually just do it in a very, cut and paste way. There is the gathering of the characters, then you have the planning, and then it's the heist. And most other heist movies just kind of stick to that formula, but this movie does it in a way where the line between where the planning stops and the heist begins are almost kind of blurred, and the way they intercut between the planning and the heist can kind of make you as an audience member kind of go, okay, have they started the heist yet, or are they still in the planning phase? And that makes it even more just amazing when certain things are revealed and it turns out that was planned right from the start, and it just makes you as an audience member appreciate these little things that you kind of take for granted in the movie. It just makes them that a little bit more impressive, the way it's executed in this movie. Also, during those points in the movie where you are caught up in the heist and you want them to succeed and you are truly invested in what is happening, the movie also thankfully reminds you that there are certain things at stake, and certain things could possibly go wrong. And luckily, it manages to show you these various things without ever sacrificing the pacing of the movie and the urgency of the moment that you're currently in. It manages to maintain, like I said, that rhythmic pacing that the movie has, and keeps you invested in the moment, and shows you these things that could possibly go wrong at any point in the heist, again, without making those moments ground to a halt. And there are many things in this movie that could jeopardize Danny Ocean's heist. For example, there's Danny's connection to his ex-wife Tess, there's Linus's inexperience, and there's even Yen's broken hand, which does play a very tense moment later on in the movie where they are actually finally trying to get into the vault itself. And yeah, there are many small moments like that that could lead to the entire heist just going completely wrong. But like I said, there are certain points where you realise that, oh, that thing that you thought was going to go wrong was actually planned right from the start. And it never feels cheap or tacky. Instead, it feels very clever with the way it's all cut together and the way they show you things in a specific order, not necessarily the order that it was done in, but the order that Steven Soderbergh wants you to see it in. And the way that you are presented with these facts and in the order that they are presented in is just, like I said earlier, makes the whole aspect of the heist just that bit more interesting, rather than it just being a cut and paste. They get together, they plan it, and they do the heist. Instead, by blurring the lines a little bit as to where the planning stops and the heist begins, kind of keeps you on your toes a little bit more. The cast are all brilliant as well. George Clooney as Danny Ocean is just perfect casting, in my opinion. He brings this just the right amount of style and smugness to the character of Danny Ocean without going too far in either direction and without being a bit of a dick, really. And yeah, he is brilliant in this movie, and especially the friendship that he has with Brad Pitt's character, Rusty. The way their friendship kind of grows throughout the movie and the interactions they have between each other are just really, really good and make for some of the most interesting dialogue scenes in the entire movie. That's another thing. Brad Pitt as Rusty is just fantastic in this movie. You can tell that he is the smartest guy in the room, and he knows it, and he can sometimes be a bit cocky in that sense. But that being said, there is, again, a playful sense to his character, which again doesn't make him feel like a dick, and instead makes him look like the coolest guy in the room. Carl Reiner is also really good as Saul Bloom, and he kind of acts as one of the more grounded members of Danny's team. There are even some points during the planning phase of their heist where he even points out questions that the audience are probably asking themselves while watching the movie, and I think that's quite clever. He almost acts in a way as the audience's perspective of this whole thing, not to the point where it is meta, but like there are just a few points in particular where he asks certain questions, like I said, that the audience themselves are thinking while watching the movie, and I thought that was a really nice little touch. And he, like I said, he is really good in the movie and gets a lot to do here. Scott Caan and Casey Affleck, as well as the Malloy brothers, are brilliant, and they are two of my favourite characters in the entire movie. Even though they don't get much to do, I think they just get the right amount of screen time in this movie, because that's another thing. They kind of add a sense of chaos to the whole heist, really. And in a sense, out of all the characters, they could be the ones to jeopardise it, but I think they add just the right amount of chaos to everything, to the point where it does feel just a bit controlled. And like I said, their relationship together is bloody fantastic. And they thankfully just avoid crossing that line between being those very generic, annoying comic relief characters. Like, here's the Malloy brothers, and here's the line as to where they could be annoying comic relief, and they just barely don't cross that line. They are bearable enough and are enjoyable enough on screen that they are actually funny and not annoying a nuisance that keeps appearing in the movie. Bernie Mac is also brilliant in this movie, and he gives a lot of nuance to the character of Frank that you might not necessarily give to a side character such as that, but what he does do with that character is very interesting, and I liked what he did there. To be honest, in terms of the casting, there is not a single weak link in the entire movie, and even more props goes to Steven Soderbergh, who somehow manages to give all of these characters their own moment to shine without it ever feeling cluttered. That is really impressive, considering you've got a lot of characters to work with. You've got Danny Ocean's team of 11, you've got Andy Garcia's character, you've got Julia Roberts' character, as well as other side characters that only appear for very small moments in the movie, and all of it feels perfectly balanced without ever feeling chaotic or claustrophobic in a sense. My only nitpick with the movie, and if you've seen the film you probably know where I'm going with this, but it's Don Cheadle's dodgy Cockney accent. Yeah, it's not good. I mean, it does work for the sake of a few comedic moments, but it really isn't that good. And Don Cheadle's performance is also really good in the movie. That's the annoying bit. He really does give it his all in this movie and does add to a lot of the movie's humour. But that accent is just so cringy at times.
Oh, leave it out. You tossers! You had one job to do!
Ocean's 11 is just a lot of fun, and it knows what it is and never tries to go anywhere beyond that, which is why I'm going to give Ocean's 11 a 10 out of 10. Like I said, this is probably one of my favourite movies ever, just because it knows what it is, it sticks to it, and does it in the snappiest, most enjoyable way possible. If you haven't seen Ocean's 11, I highly recommend it, because it is a brilliant piece of filmmaking and definitely one of Steven Soderbergh's best movies. So guys, that was my review of Ocean's 11. I hope you enjoyed it, and just a reminder as to what was shown at the start of the video, there is a link in the description for you to be able to donate to the Black Lives Matter movement. I know some of you can't contribute much at this point in time, but at this stage, every little helps. So whatever you can give, whether that be a large amount or a small amount, is just better than anything. It's better than not doing anything, at least. So yeah, every little helps, and the more we can do to stop this racial injustice from happening just at all is, a step in the right direction. If you like the video, then give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Bye.